I'll call the meeting to order this morning at 9:02 a.m. Central Time. Thank you all for being here, and Christy, can you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Fleming. Trustee Fleming is on Zoom. Trustee Gilly.
Present.
Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Matthews.
Here?
Trustee Moya.
Here, audio's very low, just so you guys know.
Thank you. Trustee Patel.
Here.
Trustee Riddell.
Here.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ross.
Here.
Trustee Schatz.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Sprague.
Here.
And Trustee Young.
Here.
You have quorum.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, and welcome again to our last meeting of this fiscal year. It's great to have everybody together. Everything around the table looks really nice with our new rollout of our branding campaign. So thank you to everyone who have been working on all this so diligently over the past several months. It's really all coming together nicely. I'd like to recognize a few people in the room this morning. We've got Judge Bailey, one of our former board members, and who is here today. Thank you. He will spend the morning with us and have lunch with us later, and we'll be able to share his proclamation later in the agenda. So thank you for being here. And Nicole Gislason. Nicole, I always butcher that, sorry. Maybe by the time I'm done here in 5 years, I'll have it right. Thank you for being here to present on the Haas Center and everything that you've been doing with the students all year. We're glad to have you for that component of the agenda. And two of our newer board members that have been in meetings with us but not in person, Trustee Sprague and Trustee Roney to my left. We're really glad to have you here in person. It's fantastic. And welcome to the board and around the table. Also, I do want to mention, sadly, but Dr. Westcott, who was out of the Department of Psychology, passed away recently, and I know had been with the university for almost 30 years and integral to the university throughout that period of time. So just to make mention of him, and I know many have honored him on the university campus over the past days. So did not want to miss that discussion. Also, Peter Miller, on to maybe a lighter note, is with Aramark, and I don't know if he's in the room right now. If not, we'll call him out a little bit later. This is his last day at UWF. He's retiring, and he's been with Aramark for nearly 30 years, with UWF for 8, and he's fantastic. I'll tell the story. I kept seeing him everywhere when I started on the board. I saw him at other universities when we were at board meetings, and I thought, does he follow us around UWF to help make sure we are getting what we need? But they, with Aramark, there's coordination between the universities. So I just thought that was really funny, but he's fantastic, and we will miss Peter, and there'll be a reception, I think, later in this afternoon for him. So we'll recognize him when I see him pop back in a little bit later. I also would like to bring up Chief Roman Jackson, if he's in the room right now. Thank you. And you may want to say a few remarks. I know he's rolling out his new challenge coin and with his colleagues. Yeah, come on up.
Good morning. Command staff's going to come around and hand you. We just implemented our new challenge coin. You're the first ones to get it. We got them yesterday. We redid those for the PD, and we thought we'd share them with you first. We did a whole new variant. We were waiting on the rebrand, and it's got the UWF on one side, but just a token of our appreciation for everything you do for us. And most of all, just a quick thank you to President Diaz for being so supportive of our agency as well. So you're the first ones to get them. Now we're going to push them out. We want to make sure you were first, so thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
All right.
Nice.
Good. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Jackson and everyone. These are beautiful coins, and we'll always love collecting these. So we're lucky to have you here with us today and every day on campus, keeping us safe. So with that, I was not able to attend the Historic Trust gathering last night, but I talked to many in the room, and they said it was a great time. They really enjoyed seeing the exhibit. So thank you to everyone on the board that were in attendance, and some of the Historic Trust members and other members of the community that that we brought together. So appreciate the staff for pulling all of that effort together for the board. So with that, we'll move on to public comment, and I'll ask Christy if we have gotten any.
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment today.
Fantastic. I don't know that that's happened yet since I've been on the board. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes here for the April 2026 Board of Trustees meeting. You've all been given time to review the minutes, and if there are no questions, corrections, or changes, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Appreciate it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. And Madam Chair, is my voice coming through?
Yes, sir, it is. Trustee?
Thank you.
Okay, did you have anything, or are you just checking, Trustee
Well, I
Philby?
was just doing voice check.
Okay, wonderful. All right, any opposed? All right, thank you, the motion carries. And now we'll move on to the chairman's report. Really, I don't have much additional to add to what I just discussed up front. I know I will attend later this evening another 250 celebration that's downtown at the Museum of History, and we'll be with some more folks from the community, so it'll be nice to be able to represent the university at that event. And, just have been attending as many things as I can in the interim between board meetings, had a really great meeting with Trustee Schatz and part of his cabinet. Just to give a highlight on that, we sat for, I could not believe it, and very thankful for it, 2.5 hours. And they went on and on, had lots of great suggestions. No one complained to me about parking. It was fantastic. I already knew about parking. That's always number one. But no, they gave lots of great advice and had lots of suggestions and things that we can work on over the summer. So that's the plan. Let's not wait until everybody gets back in the fall. Let's start discussing and maybe put some things, some balls in motion for the students here on campus. Not that stuff like that's not happening with Mary already, but it was just a nice way for me to sit with the student government folks and talk through some more stuff. So we'll talk often. That was our plan. So thank you for doing that with me. And I'll be back in July, which will be nice to celebrate for Blue Angels, and then probably do some university business then. So that's my report. And if the president is ready, we'll move on to his report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And we have great news on metrics, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise, and I know that's going to be in the provost report, so I'll let that sit for the provost. UWF and MIT, a partnership for UAS evaluation, 5 undergraduate students from the Lewis Baird Junior College of Business collaborated with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's MBA program on a comprehensive feasibility study focused on unmanned autonomous systems, or UAS. Students worked as a cohesive team with their MIT counterparts to evaluate Northwest Florida's potential as a manufacturing base for a future UAS ecosystem. IDT students earned top honors in the ISPI competition. 2 teams from the Department of Instructional Design and Technology, housed in the School of Education, earned top honors in the 2026 International Society for Performance Improvement Case Study Student Competition in Nashville, Tennessee, placing 1st and 3rd. This is the 2nd year in a row that a UWF team has won the competition. The first ever UWF student recipient of the Boren Scholarship, Youngby Dogby, a senior supply chain logistics management major, has been awarded a Boren Scholarship to study at the University of Ghana from August 2026 to February 2027. As one of the nation's most competitive international scholarship programs, this award provides up to $25,000 to support immersive language and cultural study abroad experiences in regions critical to U.S. national security interests. Dogby, a U.S. Army veteran who currently serves as a transition coach at the Military and Veterans Resource Center, is the first UWF student to receive the scholarship. UWF welcomed royal visitors. UWF student Gianna Gigi Maduro of Curaçao represented Dutch Caribbean students during a Miami event held in conjunction with the recent visit of King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, highlighting UWF's growing connections across the Dutch Caribbean. Maduro is one of many Dutch Caribbean students enrolled at UWF who have taken on an active leadership role across campus, including service in student government, international ambassador programs, and new student orientation. And I know, I thank Dr. Mary Anderson, who participated in that and represented UWF as well, down in Miami. 9 UWF students participated in the Washington Center's National Security Seminar, a week-long event that brings students from around the world to explore current national security challenges, made possible through the UWF Career Development and Community Engagement long-standing partnership with the Washington Center. Each student received a $2,295 scholarship covering the full cost of the seminar, with additional financial support allocated to offset travel and professional expenses. The inaugural Lafayette Fellowship, senior environmental science major Elisabetta Savini was selected out of 3,400 applicants nationwide as one of the 30 students awarded the prestigious Lafayette Fellowship, a new program funded by the French government to strengthen ties between the United States and France. The fellowship supports 1 year of a master's level study in France and includes funding for tuition, a monthly stipend, travel, and participation in a leadership development program connecting fellows with global leaders. She was also one of our presidential ambassadors during her time here at UWF. Dr. James Arruda received a U.S. patent for early Alzheimer's detection technology. This was covered pretty well across the news outlets. Dr. James Arruda, a professor of psychology, has received the notice of allowance from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for an electrocephalographic or EEG platform capable of detecting mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's dementia, a milestone that brings a non-invasive, accessible early detection tool one step closer to clinical use. So congratulations to Dr. Arruda. Randolph Scott received the Fulbright U.S.-France International Education Administrators Award. Randolph Scott is the Director of International Affairs and has been selected for the prestigious Fulbright U.S.-France International Education Administrators Award for 26-27. The highly competitive program is fully funded, 2-week seminar designed for U.S. higher education professionals working in international education and institutional global engagement. Congratulations again, Dr. Anderson, and that's over in your shop. The Center for Cybersecurity and AI had a summer cyber and AI camps. The Center for Cybersecurity and AI collaborated with Regions Foundation to offer a free summer cyber and AI experience camps for the summer of 2026. The camps are an opportunity for rising 7th through 12th graders who are at least 13 years old to learn about cybersecurity and its careers through hands-on experience with real-world tools and problems. As part of the phased development and construction of the Darrell Gooden Stadium, a new state-of-the-art LED video board measuring 85 feet wide by 30 feet tall has been installed in the end zone opposite the Darrell Gooden Center for the upcoming season. The video board will enhance the game day experience for fans while supporting future media, marketing, community event opportunities as the stadium project moves to full completion. And you can see that very obviously if you, as you drive by the stadium down the road here. It is the first part of the exciting new construction of the Darrell Gooden Stadium, and we're excited to have it ready for the 26th season. We broke ground on the new Advanced Intelligence, Cybersecurity, and Engineering Research Building called the Synapse, funded by part of a $32.5 million award from the Triumph Gulf Coast Board and more than $21 million in state funding. The 55,000 square foot building on the Pensacola campus will house specialized labs, state-of-the-art equipment, technology to support advanced computational AI, cybersecurity, and engineering research across the university. And you'll see those fences go up and they'll start moving dirt. So there's a lot of construction going on here on campus beside the stadium and the Synapse. We also have a brand-new water tower that is going up at the backside of the campus, and we also have a facilities plant that is going to be start construction soon. So a lot of movement across campus, along with the final piece of the Cannon Green patio renovation, which is now going on right outside the Commons. The 2025 CAE-CD Community Outreach Award. UWF placed third in the 2025 CAE-CD Community Outreach Award competition, which is given by the National Centers of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity Community to a CAE Cyber Defense designated institution. Dr. Iman El-Sheikh, Associate Vice President for the Center for Cybersecurity and AI, also received an award for outstanding contributions to the CAE Cyber AI community and nation. So congratulations to Dr. Iman El-Sheikh and the Cybersecurity and AI Center that keeps doing great work and shining for UWF. And then, of course, the Historic Trust Pensacola Museum of History opened the Road to Revolution, commemorating the 250th anniversary of the American War for Independence. As the chair mentioned, we had a preview event last night, which many of the board members attended, and glad to see you all there. And then there'll be another event this evening open to the public to launch that display that will be going on to celebrate America 250. And the exhibit explores how the distant Gulf Coast port played a pivotal role in the global conflict. We like to say that the most relevant piece of history during the 250th and the American Revolution happened right here in Pensacola. And so this is an opportunity to see that display. It includes an original letter penned by Benedict Arnold before he had his little situation, and it was basically it's a letter sent asking for the permission from Congress to move on the British troops and cut them off here at Pensacola and Mobile before they can get reinforcements from New Orleans. Of course, that was denied, and later, of course, became the Battle of Pensacola, and that's where Galvez shines. So a very exciting exhibit. It's great for us to have this here in Pensacola and be part of the UWF family. So thank you, Madam Chair. That is my update.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? I think I'm up now. Thank you very much, President Diaz. We'll move on to Provost Cool for his update.
So for this presentation, I'd like to report on UWF's 2026 performance-based funding results. Overall, UWF had an outstanding year, earning a final score of 92, and demonstrating strong performance across nearly every metric. So if you'll go to the second slide, please. All right, so on this first slide, you'll see several years of data, and I wanted to highlight the steady progress UWF has made over time and the improvements achieved through the efforts of faculty, staff, and administrators. So you'll see each row is a metric, and then you'll see our scores for each of those metrics over the years, and then our total score at the bottom. And so for this year, 2026, our score is a 92. For metric 1, the highest benchmark is 80%, and UWF achieved that benchmark with an 80.1%, earning a score of 10. And I'd like to mention here that UWF this year has the highest metric 1 score in the system. And then for metric 2, median wages, you'll see that it continues to increase. And UWF has a 10 on this as well, and we rank among the top 3 institutions on this metric. And then for metric 3, our commitment to student affordability continues to pay off. We continue to award more financial aid, and the average net cost to students continues to decline, earning UWF a score of 10. And a tremendous amount of work goes into metrics 4 and 5 from across the campus, especially with regard to student success. For metrics 4 and 5, UWF continues to show improvement, and you'll see for metric 4, we earned a 6, and then for metric 5, we're at a 9. Metrics 6 and 8 underwent methodology changes this year, All right, so this is the metric where we look at the percent of our graduating students who have earned a degree in a program of strategic emphasis. So the methodology change this year is that list was reduced significantly. Despite that change, UWF continues to perform well, and we earned a score of 9 on metric 6 and a score of 10 on metric 8. Actually, it's 8A. For metric 7 on access rate, we earned the maximum score of 10, and this is largely due to the fact that we are running campaigns to increase the number of students completing the FAFSA. We also saw improvement on metrics 9A and 9B. All right, so now on 9A, this is our 3-year rate for students who transfer to us with an AA degree from a Florida State college. UWF earned a score of 3 on 9A, and then a score on a 5 on 9B, and the reason we got a 5 on 9B is from improvement. 9B is the 6-year rate for Pell recipients, and since we improved by over 5 percentage points, we earned a 5. And then for metric 10, we continue to perform very well on this, and we have a 10 on that metric as well. So our total score is a 92. Last night, the BOG released the scores for every institution in the system, and so I'm happy to say that with our 92, with the changed metric 6 and 8, we are second in the system.
Fantastic.
So if you go to the next slide shows our normalized score. And so this normalized score, this is basically our score. This is what our score would have been under the previous methodology for metrics 6 and 8. So our score is a 93. You can see for metric 6, if we had not changed the list of programs of strategic emphasis, we would have had a 10. And for metric 10, or 8A, we continue to have a 10. So this gives us a 93, a normalized score of 93. So when you look at the normalized scores across the system, we're number 4. So I think overall, we had an outstanding year. This is the best year for us. And I want to thank everyone, faculty, staff, administrators, everyone involved in our metrics. This has been very much a focus for us. And I think if you look at our performance over time, you see steady improvement. And this is what we've been aiming for. I also want to note that this year marks the final year under the current performance-based funding scoring methodology. Beginning next year, the state university system will transition to the new PBF 2.0 model. And at this time, I do not have data yet to show UWF's score under this new model. However, I do think it's important to keep in mind that scores are expected to decline. And this will decline across the system. This is not unique to UWF. And in fact, this is an anticipated outcome for each university. And with the redesigned model, it's almost like a reset. We will have new benchmarks, we will have some new metrics, but we will decline in score, as will every university. So when I have more information to share on that, I will.
Fantastic. It's wonderful. Thank you for all your efforts.
Provost mentioned that what happens is the BOG is constantly pushing performance. And so as we have creeped up, and a lot of schools have creeped up on performance, they start to enhance those metrics and look for the next step. And so it's normal that you're going to see lower scores across the system because you have a whole new set of metrics with new expectations, and that gives us a baseline then from where to operate. So when you see us at a 92 and a 93, based on these metrics, you're gonna see 10 different, well, some of them stay the same, but there'll be a change in the metrics, which will reset everything, which means in a lot of those places we'll start possibly down at a 1, right? And then what the BOG likes to see is the growth going on from that baseline score going forward. So I want to make sure we're clear, so when we get scores next year, they're not really comparable to this scale, right? It's a new scale, and we're starting fresh. I think the provost deserves a hand for his leadership and the work of. I mean, this is a task that is constant. They do a great job with analytics and predictive analytics and making sure that our students receive supports. This doesn't happen without the work of our faculty and staff, the entire team, but really his leadership and making sure that we're constantly providing those supports that we find students. And I think that's what's unique to UWF. And if you look across the system, pound for pound, right? We say, if you're looking at institutions that are our size, we are way above, right? If you look at the top three, I think you're talking about, other than UWF, everybody else is a preeminent university. And so that is a credit to the team, to faculty and staff, and everybody who works on this. And of course, this board's continued pursuit of excellence. So thank you very much, Provost Kuhl.
Anything further?
That's it.
I'll just say one last thing. Thank you, fantastic, wonderful. Just watching the history of the metrics and how much the school's improved and then where we've landed this year is really great. And then for this board and so many of us being newer, it's a good time to be a part of this process, especially with the strategic planning process that's underway, that the provost will lead, and we'll build that upon what we have with the Board of Governors in terms of the metrics we need to meet and the changes that we'll have going forward. So I think it'll be really nice that we're all involved in that from the beginning. So we've all got a piece, a little piece of the pie here to work on with you. So thank you for everything. So with that, I will move to Alex Smith. I skipped him. Sorry, Alex. Everyone's eager to hear the government relations update, and there was a lot going on during session. So fill us in on what happened and maybe where we've landed so far, and then we'll see what the governor decides to veto or not veto, and we'll know that shortly.
Exactly. Thank you, Madam Chair. This session was definitely a unique session. I'm only 26, but everyone a lot older than me told me this was a very unique session in the way everything played out. A general overview, they went into, I think, 3 special sessions this year, covering a bunch of different items, including the budget. So spent a lot more time in Tallahassee than I'm used to, but was happy to be there representing UWF. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is kind of the legislative calendar at a glance. So this year, the legislature adjourned on March 13th. The Florida legislature, they came back in a 3-week special session and passed the budget on May 29th. So coming up, I think July 1st, we have some LBR submissions due to the BOG. So what that is the Board of Governors is able to take items directly to the legislature for funding. So we're currently working with, one of the things that I've done in this new role is establish a government affairs council of senior leadership team to kind of bring everyone together on campus and have a more collaborative approach to how we approach the legislative process. So in that group, we're working on some submissions to the Board of Governors, and just looking ahead, as you see, January and February of next year, the legislature will meet for committee weeks, and then the first day of session is March 2nd. And I'm currently working right now on finalizing a date for Capitol Days. So as soon as I have that, I will make sure all of you have that, because we'd love to have your participation in Capitol Days. And then also, just so you know, we also are working on expanding our federal presence. So the current 119th session of Congress is ongoing. They run a 2-year period, so it'll adjourn this December, and then they'll move to the 120th next year. So next slide, please. So a budget update for everyone. So the legislature, as I said, adjourned May 29th with a budget. The governor has not signed the budget, so all of this is contingent on passing the veto pen from the governor. But we had a very successful year this year in our budget. We were the largest recipient of dollars out of Tallahassee in the region. So that's a testament to the leadership of the president and just the growth happening here at UWF. But we were able to receive a $5 million non-recurring operational enhancement. Operational dollars are by far the hardest dollars to get out of the legislature. So getting $5 million this year was a huge win. We were also able to secure $8 million out of the PICO list for critical infrastructure enhancement. This will allow us to close our loop and make sure that with our site utility plan and everything coming on, that we have the infrastructure being able to run to all the places to make sure the lights and the air conditioning stay on in buildings like this. We were also able to secure $499,999 for a Future Ready Workforce initiative run through the Center for Cybersecurity and AI. A big focus this year as we get into some of the policy issues you'll see was AI and workforce development. And so obviously having our nationally recognized center here, we want to promote that in Tallahassee. And so we were able to secure $500,000 for training across the state that the Centers for Cybersecurity will lead for training programs. We were also able to receive $250,000 to support the Historic Trust in their mission, $250,000 for a digital credential wallet, which would allow virtual diplomas and students to be able to have that on their phone, and then $230,000 for Office of the Public Policy Events Coordination to help us grow and sustain our Office of Public Policy events. Next slide, please. So obviously, as I mentioned, we had a UWF Capital Day this year. It was very successful. I think we had about 40 students and faculty and staff come over from UWF. So it was very impactful. We did a lot of great things. We had over 20 meetings with legislators, Senate President, Speaker of the House, had a great reception. We're able to meet with the Governor's Chief of Staff, Governor's Deputy Chief of Staff, and then also one of the things we were able to get our students in front of is the Gubernatorial Fellows Program, which is a very prestigious program run out of the Executive Office of the Governor, where students are able to be placed in a fellowship program in all of the executive agencies, where they gain leadership experience as well as some political experience. So very prestigious program, and we were able to connect some of our students, and we did have a student selected. I don't think they've announced, the governor's office hasn't announced, so you can talk to me afterwards and I'll tell you who it is, but we did have a student from UWF that was notified they were selected. So that's a big win for UWF. And then on the next slide, you'll see at Day at the Capitol, we did bring our 2025 National Championship golf team. They were by far the hit. I thought it was going to be the president or Argy, but everyone wants to hold a national championship trophy. So very successful with that, and happy to highlight our national championship golf team, and what was a big win for us too to get UWF's name out there and also talk about our transition to Division I and just the support that we need across the board. Athletics was helpful in getting, as you see in some of the pictures, there's a future speaker and a future Senate president in both of those pictures, so it was very good to be able to get in with those, and having great athletics that Dave and his team lead help us in that advocacy effort. And then on the next slide, we'll see if my video works. This is a video of the recognition from Senator Gates that he did for us on the Senate floor. It was very nice, so just want to see if we can play that. It might not work. If it doesn't, we can go to the next slide. So there were a lot of education policy proposals that the legislature passed this year. I have a bunch of slides on these. I won't touch on all of them. This is just an overview for you all. If you have more detailed questions, feel free to reach out to me. Some of the ones I'll hit on this slide are HB 757, which is school safety. That was run by Representative Salzman and Representative Gates, who represent this area. This was a bill that applied to the Florida college system and the state university system, expanding a lot of the school safety measures that were implemented at the K through 12 level. So this bill, we're currently looking at implementation. There was a requirement that we'll have to go to automatic locks and looking at some of those things, and there was an additional budget item passed to help offset some of the cost for universities that haven't met some of the standards in 757. Another one that's very important to highlight, as I mentioned earlier, is HB 1081, cybersecurity internships. The legislature actually designated University of South Florida and University of West Florida as the hubs for cybersecurity internship. So this was a huge win for us, working with Department of Commerce to be designated as the workforce universities for cyber. So all companies coming into Florida that have workforce needs in cyber and AI will be directed either to UWF or USF. So this was a huge win. It puts us on the map, and it establishes some legislative language that allows us to be highlighted for the great work that happens in cyber and AI here. Next slide, please. Here, there's a lot of, some of these policies don't necessarily always apply, but there's a lot of work around as we're looking at expanding and growing. We have a great College of Nursing. There's a lot of genetic counseling and diabetes research that's being funded and looked at by the legislature. So there were some policies passed around that. There was also the elections bill I put on here because UWF does host early voting and day of elections. So it's just something we'll work with our supervisor of elections office to make sure we're in compliance with. And then the greenhouse gas one, you're probably wondering why that's on there. It's just something that we track and we follow. There might be some movement on that from some different areas, but we just want to make sure that we're in compliance with anything that we have related to that. Next slide, please. Here, like I said, a lot of things that might not necessarily be directly education related, but we do have a police department. We do have those type of things. So I track all bills related that might impact that. So one of the ones that's important here is law enforcement interactions with individuals with autism spectrum disorders. This just provides some more clarity and some more input from the state about how to interact. I think they created a sticker that allows people to put on their cars so people are aware if there's a police stop. But obviously having a police force on campus, something that we monitor, as well as some of the public records exemptions. Those are very boring. I won't bore you with all the intricate details of public records exemptions, but there are several of those that passed as well related to assessment instruction and some intellectual property. So next slide, please. Once again, here, two things that are important on here. Public Employee Relations Commission, this was passed and it affects union relations, so it's something that I know HR is looking at and monitoring. As well as military affairs, this bill is great. Obviously, we have the president established the Office of Military Services, led by Dr. Delgadio and Christian Cosner, and so the military affairs bill opened up some opportunities for us in the education space to have more engagement with military bases and personnel, so it's something we'll be working with them on. If it's signed by the governor, we'll work with them on making sure we're able to implement that. As I know, us being in an area that has a lot of military service and bases, it's important to make sure we're serving that population. Next slide, please. This is the very boring stuff. So in the budget process, there's implementing bills and conforming bills, which have language that direct legislative funding. So here you see there's a lot of language that's included here about performance-based incentive funding, the education course list, and out-of-state fees. This is language that codifies into law what the money goes into. So I won't bore you all with the details. One to point out here is in the conforming bill, the Board of Governors is allowed to input courses on the general education course list. So that's just something I know our provost and everyone is looking at. Some of the changes that the Board of Governors will be able to, when this is signed, to be able to input some courses into our general education requirement list. Next slide, please. Also here, we have some changes into how carry-forward funds and educational facilities are defined. Carry-forward, a lot of this is cleaning up language that's been in the past. I know Trustee Gilley's probably very familiar with all of this language and what it does, but this is a lot of very technical in the weeds stuff, but wanted to make sure you have it, and you all should have a copy of this to read at your pleasure. Next slide, please. So the implementing bill is similar to the conforming bill. It has some additional language around monetary items. And so once again, it touches carry forward, procurement, and fee waivers. A lot of this stuff is stuff that will come to us from the BOG. The BOG will give direction on a lot of these items as it affects them, but wanted to make sure you all are aware. Next slide, please. Additionally, like I said, there's a lot of overlap here between what's on the conforming and implementing bill as it relates to the course list. One thing that's interesting here in the implementing bill, they did expand the opportunity for Title IX funds to be used for fixed capital outlay. This was something that has been bounced around in the legislature for a long time, and there was a lot of movement on this and a lot of negotiation, but it does expand the opportunity for state funds to support fixed capital outlay for Title IX facilities. Next slide, please. And then here, this is just some more technical updates as it relates to public education outlay and auxiliary source revenue. Very technical stuff, but we're on top of it, and we work with all of our vice presidents to make sure they have this information. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have when President Diaz came in, one of the priorities for him was expanding our federal presence. It's something UWF hasn't really focused on in a while, but with a lot of the grant money flowing out of DC, we want to make sure we're present in DC, engaging and making sure that people know UWF and they know that any money they want to give out, we're happy to take it. So we've been working very hard on building a presence up there. We've hired a federal advocate to help us with that. We have hosted Congressman Aaron Bean on campus about 8 months ago. He was able to visit the Historic Trust Center for Cybersecurity. It was a great visit. Congressman Petronis was on campus just 3 weeks ago when we were hosting our Tri-County Annual Military Forum. And so we're working through and creating a process for us to work on some community-funded projects initiatives, which are direct allocations from members of Congress through the appropriations process. So we're working on establishing a process and getting that set up for next year so we can work with our Congressman Jimmy Petronis on filing some of that, as well as working on advocating for grants at Department of Labor, Department of Commerce. Anywhere we've done, the provost does a great job of keeping me updated on grants that we have and making sure that we're pinging the appropriate people and decision makers in those areas to advocate for UWF. Next slide, please. And then just a very brief kind of political update. Last Friday at noon, candidate qualifying ended. So these are all the races that I track. Obviously, they all have an impact on us here at the university and various things. So we'll be tracking and following these closely to see how they play and shake out. So if you have any questions or anything as it relates to these races, candidates, what things are saying, how it might potentially affect UWF and higher education, I'm always happy to discuss that with you. So, and that concludes my report, and happy to take any questions.
Really want to thank Alex Smith for his work. I mean, these things, the successes during session don't happen by accident. There were a lot of ups and downs and some hairy moments, especially the last, when they went into special session. And for us to pull those items out, it took a lot of work. Did a great job managing our lobbying teams, getting information over to decision makers to be able to be in the room or have those conversations. And it did take a lot of time of being back and forth from Tallahassee to have that. And that's just what it takes to be able to be successful. You can't do this halfway. It has to be fully committed. And on the federal side, it just takes a lot longer to get through, to break through. And so it's continuing to be persistent, creating those long-term relationships, because what we're trying to do is establish a program federally that's not just for 1 year, but for UWF to be upfront and in the conversations, especially with our local delegation. We were able to have conversations when we were up there at the White House. We were able to have conversations at the Department of Education. We've had constant communication with the Department of Labor on several grants, and I know we've been successful on quite a few, both cybersecurity and others. And I know that Dr. Humphrey was also successful in getting some grants over that established the Academy for Civics, and is continuing to look at some others that as we go forward. So it's constant work, and so it takes a toll and takes persistence. And so I think we should give Alex Smith a round of applause for his efforts. Yep.
Sure. Please, Trustee Gelly.
How much? Sorry.
Come a little closer. I don't know if Gilly's on.
Okay. Huh?
I'm
Yeah,
on, but
trying.
I can't tell if you're on. Go ahead.
There you go.
Oh, now I'm on. Okay. The president and Alex cannot emphasize enough, and I know that the folks like Ashley and others can also attest to this. It was absolutely a very difficult time this year, and the fact that we came in with anything above our base funding is quite frankly amazing. We saw what happened to preeminence and other funding sources that did go away. And now, unfortunately, the battle begins to make sure the governor doesn't veto those beautiful things that they were able to get in. So I would just reinforce anyone that has relationships or the ability to make contacts with the governor's office. Now is a wonderful time to just continue to support UWF and the things that they and the team were able to accomplish in Tallahassee this year. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Gillian. And I've been monitoring, I think, our process maybe 3 years here at the university, and clearly a marked difference in terms of our presence and ability to really drive home some good successes. So I look forward to more of that in the future. No pressure, Alex. Thank you.
Trustee Gillen addressed the issue I was going to raise. Thank you very much for doing so. And what I would request from Alex is like a one-page talking points that those of us who have, or at least think we have, some contact with the governor's office that we can use to make the case to try to prevent a line item veto of any of the money that has been painfully negotiated into the UWF contract budget.
Chair Matthews, if I may.
Sure, please.
I want to go back to two things that the provost mentioned is that we are number 2 in the system, and I don't think a lot of people can grasp how important that is. I think over the last 10 years, for those, I look around the room and I see faces that we've seen in here for 10 or 12 years. 10 or 12 years ago, we were in the bottom 3. And for the trustees at this table that might not fully understand the concept of metrics, we are a school with much less resource than many of our competitors. And when you say that we're number 2, it is truly motivational, it's inspirational. I mean, I don't think we're giving enough credit to being number 2 in the system. And what you're saying is that next year we're gonna have a 2.0 version. And yeah, I think that we are gonna see some drops, but we just went through a leadership change at the university. We've just gone D2, and we still managed to hit number 2. We have significantly less resources than other schools do, and I think that is a huge testament to the work that's happening behind the scenes here at UWF. And I hope that the community of Pensacola and the entire Northwest Florida sees that is a tremendous achievement, and I hope that everyone in Pensacola will give credit to it when you see the growth of 10 years from the bottom 3 to the top 3. To be number 2, I don't think we've given that enough credit, and I just have to say thank you to everybody who's been a part of that, the decisions that have been made that go on behind the scenes, and to the folks that are, in the room that have participated in making that happen. Thank you to this entire university and every person that's had a role in that. Number 2 is tremendous.
Fantastic.
And Alex, I think you mentioned that you're only 26, but I think that's one of your strengths. That again, there are other universities that have an entire team of people, yet here you are pulling off success for UWF. So this isn't a question; it's just a congratulations to everybody that's been involved. Thank you.
Well done.
Yep, bravo. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, and I'd like to add to that. Thank you for saying that. And I think the importance of that we have been harping on as being able to tell our story, right? I think it's important to tell this story because being number 2 is incredible, but the whole idea of the branding and getting the word out is to telling the story is we can't sit here and pat ourselves in the back and say how great we're doing if we're not telling that story to prospective students, to prospective faculty, of the great things that are going on here. And I think the whole thing, right, the branding, the jumping to Division I, all of that is part of that story to highlight what's going on at this university and really a surging powerhouse in Northwest Florida and really the state. And so there's not enough kudos to go around because so many people were involved in this achievement. But again, I go back to the leadership of Provost Kuhl. He's really hit his stride and knows where we need to be ahead of time. Again, providing student support. It's all a well-oiled machine from enrollment to admissions to students' academic support to move this forward. And I think we just have to continue to build on that momentum. But while we're doing that, we have to tell the story because that's how you attract the best of the best. And so I think we're going to continue to push that forward.
Madam Chair.
Sure, please.
Madam Chair, is it fair to ask the ranking of the other institutions?
I don't know how publicly
Yeah,
announced that was.
I
didn't
think
see the
Provost
press
Kuhl
release.
can give you that, but I can tell you that that puts us ahead of the flagship institution and the other institutions you would think of. So just going down the I-10 corridor, we're above anybody else on the I-10 corridor, I can tell you that. And really, I mean, look, what you saw, and I'll let Provo School go into it, but I think what you saw is that USF is on a similar trajectory at a larger scale, right? And they were #1 on that. FIU has had tremendous success, but if you look at the 3 schools in the top 3, it's USF, UWF, and FIU. And that just tells an incredible story. And really, there's credit that has to go to the BOG and the legislature, right, for pushing, and to the governor for pushing the university system as a whole, knowing that you have flagship institutions, but also that students across this state, including here in Northwest Florida, have an opportunity to go to a top-tier university. And I think the metrics, performance-based funding, all of that accountability has raised the bar and what's allowed us to get there, right? And so if you're asking that, we only finished behind USF. That's where we landed. So that gives you kind of a, I mean, I don't know if Provo School wants to run through the ranking, but, or if it matters, but if that's the question you're asking, that's where we are.
So our score of 92, that's without normalization. USF landed on a 95, we landed on a 92, and I believe FIU landed at a 90 or 91. So that's the top 3 without normalization. With normalization, I believe it's FIU, UF, USF, and then us. I would have to look up the exact scores, but that's where we landed. But we're up there with the preeminence.
And I do have a question. So there'll be more of an announcement or discussion next week at the Board of Governors
Yep.
meeting, right? So there's a Board of Governors meeting, Trustee Sprague, next week. So I think we'll have an unveiling
Yes.
of some formal nature at that
There'll be a
point.
presentation at BOG next week
Yeah.
that will show everyone's score.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. Anyone else? We'll have a party at lunch after this. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I do want
Oh,
to,
do you do-
yeah.
Okay, Trustee Gilly, please.
I'm so
please.
sorry. It's
No,
just,
no. No, this is great stuff to talk about.
I think that obviously what Trustee Patel is saying absolutely goes without saying. It's almost shocking, to be honest with you, having been involved with the institution for over 30 years. Number 2, when this all first started, I just never could have imagined. So I'm still in a little bit of shock in the sense that, like, it's official, like, we've gotten to it, they've said it, they can't change the numbers, we're locked in. That's amazing, because we've kind of had some other situations where they kind of changed the numbers. But we should never make excuses for continuous improvement, right? That is why those top 3 are where they are. Those are all schools that haven't rested on their laurels and have spent all of this time going after continuous improvement, right? Everyone expects the flagships, UF and FSU, to be, excellent and be where they are. But we are also scrappy, and we're not afraid to claw and fight and do better. And so I also don't want y'all to make excuses for 2.0. 2.0 is fine. Wherever we end up, okay? So don't make excuses for that, because we know this institution will fight and work hard and make continuous improvement year after year, and we'll be back to where we need to be. So we need to celebrate this win and not be afraid of the future, because that's who this institution is. So that's what I wanted to say. I want to make sure that we don't give in. We won't.
Absolutely not. Anyone else? All right. Well, we'll move on to our faculty report with Trustee Riddell.
Thank you. Am I on? There, now I'm on. I wanted to spend a little bit of time highlighting some of the work that the Faculty Senate has done over the past academic year as we start preparing for the next contract year and group of senators coming in August. And starting back all the way almost a year ago in September, we held a faculty town hall. This was a joint effort between the Office of the Provost, UFF, and Faculty Senate to have an open forum with faculty to explain new regulations and policies, helping add an air of transparency and understanding to what's happening in Tallahassee and with the Board of Governors. We also conducted a general education review, and Academic Council led this initiative to review all of our gen ed courses to make sure that they were in compliance with all gen ed regulations and resolve any concerns. The Executive Committee of the Faculty Senate also revised and proposed a syllabus statement for faculty to use in their syllabi to inform students that their course is in compliance with the Florida statutes. First time in several years, we had 3 faculty senators attend Capitol Day with Alex Smith. Thank you so much for extending that invitation. It was wonderful to be able to have faculty there representing their causes and their initiatives here on campus. We also passed a resolution affirming faculty commitment to compliance with state law and the Board of Governors regulations, and a resolution affirming protections for faculty leadership and shared governance. In addition to those 2 resolutions the Faculty Senate created on their own, they also affirmed 2 of the statewide Advisory Council for Faculty Senate resolutions on presidential searches and the role of the faculty trustee. Some great work done by multiple faculty members, not just in Faculty Senate, but across the university, was restructuring this Distinguished University Professorship Program. There are now 2 categories for that, so if you're a faculty member listening, please check your email. There's information about how to win these awards. We also worked on the syllabi policy review, looking at different language, including generative AI disclosure information, which is now a new focus of our Board of Governors next week. We also reviewed the standards of conduct policy with HR, showing a nice collaborative effort. And then probably the one I'm most proud of is we restructured the University Research Council, and I just sent out a ton of emails, so I think we have a full committee ready to go this fall to support all the initiatives that Dr. Jerry Lynn will have for us. Our governance committee, we did a lot of charter reviews, including the library and the graduate council. And the governance committee is now working on a new assessment council moving into the fall. Our academic council was able to review over 250 course change requests this academic year, showing the inclusion of faculty in the curriculum development review process. And then we also, in collaboration with the Office of the Provost, reviewed the student assessment of instruction and revised to find ways to make this more effective and reducing and rephrasing questions. And then we are also working on AI governance and policy and contributed comments on emerging discussions around generative AI policy, including proposed syllabus disclosure requirements and broader institutional considerations. One of the things I'm most proud of is the Shared Pathway series, which is a 6-session faculty development series. This was piloted this year, and this was in partnership with the Office of the Provost and the Office of Teaching, Learning, and Technology. These sessions really looked at guidance, peer connection, included multiple members of the faculty, including department chairs and deans, to help candidates with their preparation and make a strong case for their tenure and promotion process. And we're also working on the University Standing Committee annual review. Some of you have received emails from me asking for your new appointments for the committees for this next academic year. I also want to thank our new office administrator, Ashley Bird, who is helping me clean up committee lists, organize existing committees, and making sure we're ready for those appointments for this next academic year. And then, of course, to finish my report on kind of a high note, I have just a few things that I wanted to congratulate some of the faculty for. First, in the College of Arts, Social Sciences, and Humanities, the UWF Speech and Debate team once again finished as a top 20 school in the country. So please congratulate these outstanding students and Dr. Adam Blood, the Speech and Debate Director, for another repeat stellar year. The School of Education, they have done a tremendous job, and they have been recruiting doctoral admission candidates, and they have interviewed an impressive pool of future scholars, practitioners, and leaders, and they are welcoming 65 newly admitted doctoral candidates to begin their journey this coming fall. So I appreciate their hard work on all of those admissions. In the Lewis Baird Junior College of Business, I want to really spend a little bit of time acknowledging Dr. Bob Kindle and Dr. Chula King. They both earned the prestigious Faculty Emeritus designation. Dr. Kimball retired this month after 39 years at the University of West Florida. Throughout his tenure, Dr. Kimball made exceptional contributions in teaching, scholarship, and service, contributions that have a profound and lasting impact on UWF. And then Dr. Chula King retired this month after 48 years at UWF. 48 years, long time.
She's amazing.
An inductee into the inaugural Lewis Baird Junior College of Business Hall of Fame. She created and taught numerous hybrid and fully online classes in accounting, financial management, and international business. She served as a frequent resource for her colleagues regarding the incorporation of technology in the classroom to enhance instruction and accessibility, and really started our AI email listserv that keeps us all up to date on everything AI. So I just want to acknowledge those two and their service to the university, and congratulations on retirement.
Great update. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to our student report with Trustee Schatz.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. Before I do start this report, I do want to give a shout out. We have, I think, about 4 SGA members in the audience, as well as a few more online listening today. So I'm really excited to get a lot of engagement out of our other student government members. To start out with, I was able to go to an FSA meeting at FSU last month on the 17th and the 18th and connect with a lot of the other SGA presidents throughout the state system. And one of our big things this year is PWRs. Our process is worth replicating. What do we do well that we should give to other schools, or what do they do well that we can carry over to make our SGAs function efficiently and truly represent the student voice? Since we have those connections, I've been working on doing one-on-ones with each of the presidents individually to, I guess, dive into the weeds about what's going on. And so one of these includes a 5-hour call with FGCU president. We're very similar institutions, and so we're in very similar spots. So it was a very productive call that we had. Past that, I've been meeting with a lot of the leaders at the university to see what SGA can do to help better represent them and get what they need done, as well as just be an advocate for the students on what they need. So that's been really productive as well. I really want to increase the scope of what SGA is doing now that we've increased the scope of what we are as a university. So that's one of my big goals for the year. First of the goals I want to talk about is connection and communication. We're going to restructure the way we do our Senate meetings as well as our entire bylaws to better advocate for the student voice and make it something where students can really come to it and give feedback and get their voice heard. Secondly, we're looking at additional ways to engage the student voice. How can we reach students that might not want to come to a meeting or, might not traditionally, be in that social circle, or, how can we get input from students who aren't really as involved on campus? And, how do we position it to where they can give us good feedback? Because a lot of times what we figured out is, students don't know what feedback to give. So we're looking at what questions to ask has been really important for us and what we've been doing in the past few months. We're also working on getting lines of communication open with different campus leaders. We've never really had a lot of communication with them before, so just working on talking to them and getting these lines of communications open so that we can better advocate for them as well. It's been something we're really big on. Second off, we're trying to become valued partners in advancing university policy. We're going to be revising the A&S fee process for student organizations to increase the amount of spending and to get more involvement out of our RSOs. We're working with admissions to do high school outreach and speak to high school SGAs and maybe try and get in a few pep rallies to inspire the next generation of UWF students. We're going to connect with alumni and local businesses to help connect students and get them set up for their future as well. And then our big thing is enhancing school spirit. Now that we're a D1 school, we need to have D1 school spirit. So that's been our major talk for the past few months about what song we're going to, have our football team walk out to, or what our stadium anthem's going to be. And I think that's where we're going to have a lot of good results in, and so I think that is what we're really excited on. So then our third one is leadership development. 16 out of our 26 senators are sophomore, and then we'll have about 15 to 20 freshman members in SGA. So one of the things that I really want to focus on is just developing the next generation of leaders. A lot of our executive staff are seniors, and we're going to be leaving the next year, so I want to make sure that all the momentum I get started this year will carry forward with the next generation of Argonauts. And so I think that that's all I want to highlight. I could probably go on for 5 hours like I did with FGCU, but I think that this is a pretty good overview of what we've been working on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Really a lot of great stuff. You all are really hustling, and a lot of great feedback from all of you, so thank you. I look forward to continuing to work with you. All right, we will move on to the Haas Center and Mrs. Gislason. Nicole.
Well said.
Thank you for your presentation. I definitely had a preview of it, and it's great. I always love to see what you're doing, so I'll hand it over to you.
Well, good morning,
Yeah.
Chair Matthews, trustees, President Diaz, Provost Kuhl, friends and colleagues. It is great to be with you. I have the honor of leading the Haas Center, and for more than 30 years, our students, our faculty and researchers have been supporting business and policy leaders with data and information that they've requested or funded over the years. More recently, we've added industrial innovation in the form of additive manufacturing, and now the Office of Industrial Innovation will soon open. And very recently, we've included the Office of Workforce Development in our portfolio. But today's discussion will focus on the region's economy and the progress the economy has made right alongside the University of West Florida for the last 25 years. So let's dive right in. We're going to start with population. And as you might suspect, Northwest Florida is poised to attract an even greater number of talented individuals who are ready to help grow our economy and, yes, even our university. I've noticed that the 3 schools that are on top all share, 2 things in common. The universities in the top 3 are each focusing on workforce alignment, and they're also in areas where the economy is thriving. So this is a timely story. As you know, we're shaped by many great assets, including our proximity to the Gulf, our robust military presence, and unlike South Florida, we have room to grow. Our transitioning military workforce complements recent investments, private investments in aerospace, like those secured by our economic developers in recent months. You'll see that Okaloosa County has welcomed Williams International, and more recently, Escambia County welcomed a company relocating from the UK known as Field International. And so now let's take a quick look at population growth. This slide shows the population growth over the last 25 years, and then looking ahead up to 2036. And the first thing we notice is that it's been fairly steady, and if you were to overlay Florida's growth rate, it would look very similar, run in parallel here. This slide shows the population distribution across the major counties and the resilient rural counties in Northwest Florida. The first thing you notice is that growth isn't evenly distributed. Escambia remains the largest population center, and at the same time, we see that up to 2035, meaningful growth is occurring across the eastern part of our service region. So you'll notice here on this slide, Bay County is overtaking Okaloosa County by 2035. And I attribute a lot of that growth to the investments that St. Joe Company is making in that region. We're thinking about additional workforce housing for those of us who are continuing to get a little bit older. You'll see Margaritaville boom in Bay County. So we're reflecting that population growth here. As you know, population growth expands opportunity, right? Population growth also expands our economy. It helps our hospitals, our banks, and our university continue to grow and thrive. We're looking at population growth by percentage change, and you do see that Escambia County is at about 5%. And when looking at this change, it's important to know that people are not moving away from these larger counties, but rather the entire footprint of the region is expanding. One note of caution, we do see our resilient rural counties. Not all of them are experiencing population growth, so we do need to be mindful of areas in which our economy could improve, and I see a lot of opportunity here. I like to tell people there's a lot of pine trees and palmetto bushes in that area, and they are ripe for growth. So now we're turning from population growth to the people who power our economy, and that's our labor force. The image on this slide comes from Bay County's Central Maloney, and they're a manufacturer producing transformers used in our electrical grid, and CMI represents the type of investment and value-added production that helps us harness private capital and skilled workers to grow our economy. So let's dive right into the labor force numbers. Here we have the various laborers that are located across Northwest Florida. I'll add that Northwest Florida is also a bit younger than our population in Central and South Florida. So many of us are wage earners, in fact, so that's reflected in our workforce numbers. Here we have our gross regional product, and these are the raw numbers for that. And as expected, we see that Escambia County is the top in GRP. But this doesn't really tell us how productive our workers are as a unit. So when we want to look at productivity and perhaps what influences that, we look at GRP per capita, so the gross regional product per person. So Okaloosa County really ranks at the top of this metric, and I'm sure that many of you can guess why. They have many engineers, scientists, and many of them in support of their defense industry. And so Okaloosa County is harnessing the power of that particular sector of our economy to their advantage. A lot of their wages are much higher than many of the other counties, but Escambia too is not doing too shabbily either. So now we're turning to occupations and earnings, and here we're looking at the top 10 industries by job count. You'll see that feds, eds, beds, retail, and meds top the job count here in 2025 as it's measured, and you see the raw numbers here. We have a diverse industry mix, especially over here in Escambia County compared to many of the others. If the federal government gets a cold, then Okaloosa County may suffer a little bit more than the rest of us, but surely that top number should be of great importance to each and every one of us around the table, because most of that top number is reflected in our military bases. So now this particular slide, I like to look at this one and think about metric 6. So you see professional services at the top. And most of those jobs are in the engineering occupational category, followed by our hospitality and healthcare sectors. Hospitality is a very important sector of our economy, and these occupations help to support that. They're great first jobs, right? They, however, are not the highest earning jobs. Now, medical, in fact, is about 12% of our region's economy, and we see that healthcare jobs are very important. We have one healthcare system that is wholly owned and operated right here in Pensacola, and that particular hospital system not only hires many of our graduates, our RNs, but they also hire a tremendous number of our accounting graduates. Now we're looking at the top 10 occupational categories in this set of slides, and I will say that manufacturing is quite important, and while they don't have the same quantity of occupations in our region, their wages are substantially higher than many, so that's something I always point out because I have a bias towards manufacturing. Here we see the top 10 industries by average annual earnings. And you'll note that utilities are there at the top. Our College of Business team members will like to see the next two categories there, including finance and management. Finance, by the way, our largest employer in Northwest Florida includes Navy Federal Credit Union, and about 10,000 of the roughly 20,000 jobs we have in Northwest Florida in that particular category can be attributed to Navy Federal. So looking at earnings, again, I'll call out the federal government average earnings, and you have the military, and then just two above that, you see manufacturing at about 96,000 and change. Here we have average earnings, and again, the average annual earnings reflect the industrial mix or the industrial composition. And when I talk about industry, it could be any sector. It can be the public sector, healthcare, higher education, or the military. While I'm on this slide, looking at Escambia County, it's true we have a lot of government and military employees. We also have a lot of tourism. But guess what? Higher education is a much bigger factor in our county than any others, and that should surprise none of us in this room. Now, the next bit of research I'm going to share was conducted by our Wicked Smart team members, and thanks to Florida Commerce, Secretary Kelly, Deputy Secretary Mahone, as well as Jennifer Connolly and Florida's Great Northwest for funding our military's talent study. We have about 5,200 separations on average from our military bases from Escambia County over to Bay County, and it was previously thought that this number was a lot lower. And what we learned in talking to many of the executives on base, they were very frank with us that not only are those separations higher, and the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics was showing us these specific data points. And the top brass confirmed that. In fact, in Escambia County, we're seeing a few unexpected opportunities for workforce engagement, in that many of the young people that begin their career in Escambia County at school in NAS Pensacola, they, life happens, right? And things change. It's their first time away from mommy and daddy. And perhaps their military career doesn't continue beyond their schooling in Pensacola. But these individuals have many redeeming qualities, and so it's a workforce opportunity for us to capture some of those young men and women who have opted to serve our country, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work out here in Escambia. But I think those types of anecdotes were really unexpected in our research product. We have another new product coming out soon with Florida's Great Northwest, and that's funded by Triumph Gulf Coast, and it's known as Northwest Florida Forward 2.0. So keep an eye out for that. This young lady is Sybil Cox, and she is a mechanical engineer and a graduate of Hal Marcus College of Science and Engineering. And she spent a good bit of time with us at the Haas Center inside C3D, Science, Engineering, and Art. She was a prototyping student engineer, and she did a beautiful job. But, she really entered a job market and was snapped up instantly by a manufacturer in the area. Her design skills were second to none. But one of the most requested data sets that we at the Haas Center receive is job posting analytics. And many of my colleagues in the room today, in fact, probably use this data series that comes to us from Lightcast. And this information is scraped from various websites around the country to draw upon what types of jobs are posted by employers. So what are they seeking? How long is it taking to get a new hire? So that's the data you're looking at. So you've got 3 years, each in March, and so this data is available, and I invite you, the trustees, to reach out if you ever need wage information. These types of studies can be quite extensive, and we're working on one right now with the Central Gulf Industrial Alliance, and we anticipate putting that out in October of this year, and it'll be in the form of a dashboard, but it will be behind a paywall. So our friends in manufacturing will be able to join the Central Gulf Industrial Alliance and gain access to some of the wage information that we provide. This young lady is a college golfer and participating in a tournament at Tiger Point in Santa Rosa County. And you'll see she's hitting out of the rough. And I think this is a very telling situation for some of our young folks that are coming out of school, or young parents exiting the military and getting their first civilian job, right? So she's hitting her shot out of the tall grass. And that's a fitting analogy for our home price index. So many of us have read the media stories about housing affordability, and indeed most of them are fairly accurate. And this particular data set looks at the last quarter of a century. And one thing you'll notice is that we've tracked the U.S. more or less for most of this particular period. But after 2020, you see an acceleration not only in Pensacola, there in the green, but also in the state of Florida. So what this tells me is that we all live in a desirable location, right? And our home prices reflect that value that we place in where we live. So I think in some ways that's a good thing, right? So if you're trying to sell a house, you want it at the highest value, right? If your son or daughter is trying to buy one, however, the opposite would be true. But nonetheless, this particular data comes to us from the St. Louis Federal Reserve. It's called FRED. It's one of the best data sources in the country. I invite you to take a look at that. We use it on a regular basis. So now we're back to our resilient rural counties and then the 5 vibrant counties of the western coast of Florida. We have a lot of time and talent. 25 years ago, we, like this young man, were starting with an idea, the opportunity to build something simple, put creativity to work for us, and compete at the highest levels. So, Trustee Gilly, I thought about your remark today about where we started with the metrics. It's exactly how we started, right? Look how far we've come. One of the fastest sailing yachts in the world is right here in Pensacola. And now, world-class racing is part of our region's economy and, yes, in part of our story. So it is such an honor and a privilege to work with y'all. As I've mentioned, we get the opportunity to work with about, in the last 3 years, we've covered 89 different businesses and policy issues over that span of time. And it's been a lot of fun to watch the economy grow right alongside the University of West Florida. I'm very proud that we are the university is one of the cultural and athletic center points of Northwest Florida. And we look forward to continuing to monitor the economy, support workforce development and industrial innovation. And I am very happy to take your questions.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. You represent the university well, and she's always so welcoming. So whenever everyone is downtown and want to go by her office, you should. She knows that I pop in there every now and then, and it's great to see her and the students and sit in on some of their meetings. And I follow a lot of her work. There are some reports out on our website that Nicole and her folks have done recently. She had an athletics impact report that she developed. So there's a lot of things that she's doing that she wasn't, obviously able to cover today, but there's a lot of really good efforts underway. And I know you've done some poverty by the zip code level work. You work a lot with the chamber. You travel around the state a lot and represent us. I did see her present at a Florida Power and Light event as well over in the Panhandle this year. So, there's a lot of good coordinated efforts going on within her shop. So thank you for everything you do, and I'm glad we were able to bring you here today.
I appreciate that, Chair Matthews.
Of course.
Thanks to everybody.
And anyone have any questions for Nicole while we're here, or comments? Definitely go by to visit her one day. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, everybody. We're moving on here to our committee reports. So we'll move on first to Trustee Smith with the Academic Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. The Academic Affairs Committee met on Thursday, May 21st. We had 2 action items and 2 information items on our agenda. The detailed minutes of the actions taken by the committee can be found on our Board of Trustees website. For the action items, the first one, Dr. Dallas Snyder, the Vice Provost, presented a request to approve the Specialized Admission Status Reaffirmation for the Nursing BSN degree program and the Clinical Laboratory Sciences BS degree program. And for the second action item, the Provost presented a request to approve tenure as a condition of employment for Dr. Mustafa Morsi in the Hal Marcus College of Science and Engineering. And the Academic Affairs Committee recommends approval of all the action items by the full Board of Trustees via our consent agenda at today's meeting. We also had 2 information items. The first one, the first information item was a precursor to today's BOT4 item to approve tenure for 4 faculty members. And the second information item was an explanation and the results of the post-tenure review for 19 tenured faculty members. That concludes my report, Chair Matthews.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Appreciate it. We'll move on to Audit and Compliance Committee with Trustee Young.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. The Audit and Compliance Committee met on Thursday, May 21st, 2026. We had 10 action items and 1 information item on the agenda. Detailed minutes of the actions taken by the committee can be found on the Board of Trustees website. As far as action items are concerned, David Bryant, Chief Audit Executive, presented all but 1 action item, including internal audit reports for the first and second quarters of 2025 and 2026, internal audit reports on student hazing prevention, David, which is the Driver and Vehicle Information Database, internal controls and data security, and the IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, cybersecurity topical requirement. He also presented proposed revisions to the Audit and Compliance Committee charter, as well as the IAMC charter in response to requirements of the IIA cybersecurity topical requirement. And finally, he presented the revised 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 IAMC work plans and resource plans. Jeffrey Jerlick presented the Auditor General Audit Report of the UWF Financial Statement Audit ending June 20, 2025. The Audit and Compliance Committee recommends approval of all action items by the full Board of Trustees via consent agenda at today's meeting. We did have 1 information item. David Bryant also presented the information, which was an update on the activities of Internal Auditing and Management Consulting Department. Chair Matthews, this concludes my report.
All right, great. Thank you, Trustee Young. Just for the audience, we'll run through the next 2 committees and then we'll take a quick break, okay? So the next one here is Finance, Facilities, and Operations Committee. And Trustee Moya, if you are on the call.
Yes, thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair. The Finance, Facilities, and Operations Committee met Thursday, May 21st, 2026. We had 2 action items and 1 information item on the agenda. Detailed minutes of the actions taken by the committee can be found on the Board of Trustees website. Our first action item, Vice President of Finance and Administration and CFO Dan Lucas reviewed the projects included in and requested approval of the capital improvement plan for fiscal years 28 through 2032. Secondly, our University Controller Jeffrey Jerlick presented the second action item requesting approval of the updated University Carry Forward Spending Plan and University Fixed Capital Outlay Budget for fiscal year 25 to 2026. The Finance, Facilities, and Operations Committee recommends approval of all action items by the full Board of Trustees via consent agenda at today's meeting. For information items, Mr. Jerlick also presented the information item on the agenda, an update on the current modified operating budget for fiscal year 25-2026 as of March 31st, 2026. Chair Matthews, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Moya. Appreciate it. And we'll move on to our last committee report, Student Affairs, with Trustee Roney. Trustee Roney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to our amazing Vice President of Student Affairs for taking the time to meet with me and reading me in on all things Student Affairs. It really is an impressive job, so thank you so much. With that, the Student Affairs Committee met on Thursday, May 21st, 2026. We had 1 action item on the agenda. Detailed minutes of the action taken by the committee can be found on the Board of Trustees website. Dr. Mary Anderson, Vice President of the Division of Student Affairs, presented the sole request to approve revisions to UWF Regulation 3.042, Admission of International Students. The Student Affairs Committee recommends approval of this item by the full Board of Trustees via consent agenda at today's meeting. With no further action items on the last agenda, this concludes my report, Chair Matthews.
All right, thank you, Trustee Roney. I appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and take a break here for about 10 minutes. We'll come back at 10:40. Thank you.
do anything else besides just the 5 hour, then it gets dicey.
I don't know why he
Exactly.
All right, everyone, if you can please come to your seats, we'll begin shortly.
Silence is deafening.
Yep, we're waiting for a few more folks to come in. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't the only one who came back late.
No.
Cool pen, or cool little
It
corner,
is,
right?
it is pretty neat. Yeah, I was sending this picture of it. That's pretty neat.
So just get here when you can.
Well,
All right, those of you on the phone, we are all here, and we will go ahead and get back into business. We'll move on to the direct support organization reports, and we'll start with the BEI, the Business Enterprise Inc., with Chair Young, Vice Chair Young.
Thanks, Chair Matthews. For a quick overview of the BEI operations, the board met virtually on April 27, 2026, and the BEI continues to oversee UWF Dining Services, the bookstore, Argonaut Village, and the Go Learn, which is an educational app for testing prep, which BEI assumed oversight of during the fiscal year 2025. BEI operations continue to generate positive cash flow and net income, which are ultimately donated back to the university. Argonaut Village remains 100% occupied with long-term tenants providing services that benefit both students and the surrounding management, reported stable operations, and continued strong utilization of BEI managed assets. Representatives from James Moore and Company provided the fiscal year 2026 external audit's entrance presentation outlining the audit approach, timeline, and deliverables. The board completed its annual conflict of interest review process and was reminded of disclosure requirements under BEI policy. All directors were asked to complete updated conflict of interest disclosure forms as part of BEI's internal controls procedures. The board unanimously approved the appointment of directors previously appointed by the UWF Board of Directors. The election of officers are Chair C. Ray Jones, Vice Chair myself, Secretary Treasurer Dick Baker, and this action ensured continuity of leadership and governance oversight. The board unanimously approved updating Service First Bank Signature Authority to designate the CEO as a primary signer and add the Senior Associate Vice President and Controller as a backup signer. Ratification of the 2024 IRS Form 990 filing, which was timely submitted with no significant operational changes reported. The proposed fiscal year 2026 and 2027 BEI operating budget following discussion of budget assumptions and year-over-year variances. As far as investment performance, management reported on the board's prior decision to invest idle cash balances. Approximately $500,000 of BEI's excess operating cash was moved into a brokerage investment, including short-term certificates of deposit and treasury instruments. As of March 31st, 2026, those investments had generated approximately $103,000 in interest earnings, strengthening BEI's financial position and demonstrating prudent stewardship of resources. The board reviewed third quarter budget to actual reports through March 31st, 2026. Variances between budgeted and actual performance were presented and explained by management. Overall, the reports reflected ongoing monitoring of BEI's financial activities and operational performance. On a quarterly expenditure reporting, the board ratified and the required quarterly capital expenditure reports for the periods ending September 30, 2025, December 31st, 2025, and March 31st, 2026. The only significant expenditure during the reporting periods was a $292,806 donation supporting the John C. Pace Library Coffee House Improvement Project. Looking ahead, the board approves its fiscal year 2026-2027 meeting calendar and will meet on the following dates: September 28, 2026, November 16, 2026, February 22nd, 2027, April 26, 2027. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Vice Chair Young. And we'll move on to the UWF Foundation with Trustee Ross, who's on the phone.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. A printed copy of the full report has been placed into all trustee packets and will also be available online in the minutes from today's meeting. So I'm not going to read the report in its entirety today, but I did want to cover a few highlights for all of you this morning. And as always, please let me or Vice President Tori Bennett know if you have any questions following the things that are covered. We met yesterday, which is Wednesday, June 17th in the afternoon. We began things, which is sort of an overall snapshot of how things were looking for the fiscal year 2026. For all new cash pledges and planned gifts since July of last year, we're just north of $10 million at $10,460,693. For the annual fund, we have $2,356,621, which is an increase of well over $300,000 from the prior year to date. So very exciting that we're up so much year over year. And another increase that we are celebrating, we have 577 Nautilus level donors. And again, as a reminder to everyone, Nautilus level donors are anyone that has given the university $1,000 or more. In that level, we have over 100 new Nautilus level donors than we saw prior year. We have a few recent gifts that we wanted to highlight, including a $200,000 gift from Site and Utility LLC to support the Athletic Excellence Fund. We also received a $155,000 gift from Ascension Sacred Heart of Pensacola to celebrate the Ascension Sacred Heart Immersive Education Initiative. We received a $25,000 gift from Wells Fargo Foundation to support the Small Business Development Center, and a $15,000 gift from Walmart to support the Argo Pantry. So we really appreciate all these community sponsors for stepping up in such a major way, and we hope to have more to share. Some highlights from the meeting yesterday are a few action items that we took. The board ratified the investment committee's action to rebalance the portfolio by reducing equities from 8 different investments and moving $1 million to double line low duration and $1.5 million to PIMCO short-term installments. Action item 2, the board ratified the investment committee's action to accept the recommendation of Cap Trust by investing $2 million in the Resolute Fund that would be Fund 7 LP. We've got some Roman numerals going on there. Action item 3, the board ratified the audit and budget committee's action to approve the revised 2026 summer projects, which included a $400,000 fire alarm upgrade that will be installed across campus. The fourth action item was the audit budget committee's action to approve fiscal year 2027's housing operation budget. And we also, the audit budget committee reviewed and approved 2027 fiscal year's foundation operating budget that was presented and voted on as a whole yesterday. The next two items I'm actually going to just briefly touch on, but we'll be covering them a little bit later in new business today in BOT-2. That is the nominating committee yesterday reviewed 3 different names to be new members for the Foundation Board of Directors. They were approved with our Foundation Board yesterday, and they will be voted on, again, as I referenced, in new business today. During the alumni report yesterday, there, again, were several events. I'm just going to highlight 2 of them. In May, there was a local happy hour with Pensacola Young Professionals and Pensacola State College Alumni Association. This reception happened at the annual Techman Industry Day on Okaloosa Island in partnership with the Haas Center. And there was a special on-campus grad celebration for the class of 2026. We also heard about the Alumni Association partnering with athletics for a all-new Argo All-Access event that happened on May 12th, where alumni met with coaches, toured facilities, viewed the stadium construction site, and heard an update from staff promoting UWF's new Division I status and fundraising campaign. Then, sort of at the closing of the meeting, we talked about some upcoming alumni events, one of which was considered upcoming, although it did actually happen last night, so now I guess we'll put it in past business. Last night, the UF alumni group got together at the Blue Wahoos baseball game at the party deck. Apparently this is one of the most popular events of the year. I understand that the weather held out well enough for them to be able to do that. Obviously didn't hold out well enough for me to be able to make the trip across I-10, but hopefully everyone that attended that enjoyed it, and maybe that's something that I look forward to doing next year. Other upcoming events include August 6th of this year. This is something I thought sounded really cool. So they kind of looked at everyone that's coming in for the incoming freshman class and reviewed the data of where most students are located. And it's we found that the most students from the incoming class, we saw a greater concentration from Miramar Beach. So there's going to be an event called Summer Send-Off that's going to be held led by the Undergraduate Admissions Office. It's going to take place at Miramar Beach, again on August 6th of 2026, for all incoming freshmen and parents. And then on August 12th, there's also going to be everyone's favorite Argo Rally, led by UWF Athletics. So hopefully we'll see everyone there for that very fun event. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Great report, Trustee Ross. Appreciate it. We'll go ahead and move on to the Historic Trust Board meeting update, and I'll give a summary of everything that was discussed. We usually have a nice long discussion over lunch at these meetings. Our financials for April were presented, and our proposed budget for the fiscal year 2026-2027 was presented and approved by the group. We had some new board member appointments, as some of these other committees have had in the past. We did have a vacant historian position, so that was filled by Dr. George Ellenberg. And reappointment of Mr. Edward Tisdell for a second term on the board. So we appreciate all of his work. And Ms. Terry Levin, she is the president's designee, and she's been on the board as well, so she'll continue her service, and really appreciate that. And I believe she's covering the financial side of things for the board, so we appreciate that extra effort on her end. The Historic Trust brought in some more collections. I mean, every so often they bring in more. So this time they brought in a lot of images from around Pensacola, the Depot Restaurant, some newsletters of that nature just to add into our archives. I'm sure they'll use them in some exhibits soon. We talked a lot about our pop mural around downtown, which you all, if you're down there, you'll see a lot of that posted on buildings. The Museum of Art received a grant from the Fufu Fest, which I've yet to go to, but I know it's awesome. It was a $23,000 grant for STEAM efforts, so it was nice to bring in some more dollars that way for our efforts through the trust. Property and Collections Committee, it had a fire marshal review for everyone. I think there were some findings with these historical buildings, but we'll correct those and move on pretty quickly with those. And then also, again, to reiterate, the 250, there's a lot of different efforts going on commemorating the 250. So last night, tonight, and it'll just keep on keeping on until we get through the year. Bootleg Ball is one of the fundraisers under the trust, and I know many folks were able to attend that, and it was sort of the disco 70s kind of feel. They brought in, they had less ticket sales, but more revenue, so that's awesome. We'll take it, right? I think they were almost at $30,000 this year for funds raised, and they'll be planning the next one soon. So next board meeting, I'll give you guys the date on that one. Admissions were, for April at least, were 25% over last year's admissions. So it's a nice positive progress. I know they're seeing a lot of folks in the Children's Museum. It's the summer. I think with Palace Box Street nearing kind of the completion, everything's kind of ticking up for the trust and all of our exhibits. And that concludes, that's a good summary, I think. That's enough for today. So thank you for all the efforts of the trust, and I'm looking at Tori to see if I missed anything. You're good? All right, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to unfinished business, and this is the consent agenda. We had 15 items on the consent agenda. They were fully discussed during the committee meetings. All of the recommendations of the committees reflect the proposed action provided with the agenda backup. Does anyone wish to pull any item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Anyone? All right, if there are no requests, I'm doing a scan here, no one online, okay. If there are no requests to pull any item from the consent, may I have a motion from the board to approve and adopt the recommendations of the Academic Affairs, Audit and Compliance, Finance, Facilities and Operations, and Student Affairs Committees made during the meetings with respect to the matters set forth in the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. I had we had two at the same time. Thank you very much for that. Is there any discussion on any of these items? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. All those, any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries, and we can move on to new business. So we'll get in some meatier items here. So the first two, I guess I'll lay it out here so we can move kind of seamlessly. We'll move the first two items here on action. We'll have Tori Bennett, Vice President of Division of University Advancement, CEO of the Trust, present number one, which will be new appointments, reappointments, which I just announced, sorry. And then foundation board members and new appointments. This will be a surprise. Thank you, Tori.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning. The UWF Historic Trust Board of Directors seeks your approval for 2 new appointments and 1 reappointment, which will all be effective July 1st. The new appointment will be historian Dr. Nathan Smith. The reappointment will be Edward Tisdale, and then the ex officio is appointment SGA Aubrey Miller. And you should have their bios in the packet. We're excited, and we had a lot of interest this year, so it's going to be another great year for the Historic Trust.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Were I just gave different names. You just said Aubrey Miller?
Well, she's the SGA representative.
Oh,
you
I'm
don't
sorry.
have to vote on her, but we like to include her.
We roll her, yes. And
Yes.
we didn't have her at
She's
that
ex
meeting.
officio.
Okay. Sorry, I asked that
No, it's
question
okay.
out of order. But, so thank you, Tori.
You're welcome.
May I have a motion to approve appointments to the Historic Trust Board of Directors beginning July 1, 2026.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
A second, thank you. Is there any discussion? None? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries. Tori?
Thank you. So the Foundation Board of Directors seeks your approval for 5 new appointments, 4 new, 1 ex officio, and out of those 4, there are 3 alumni and 1 presidential position. Those 4 include Debbie Ritchie, Lane Harper, Jason Lombardo, and Louis Baer III, and the ex officio is also Aubrey Miller.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, Tori. May I have a motion to approve appointments to the UWF Foundation Board of Directors beginning July 1, 2026? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? No? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to Judge Bailey. Thank you for sitting through this meeting. We'll call this really officially your last meeting. So we're really happy to have Judge Bailey here with us today, and recognizing his distinguished service here on the board. He and I came in around the same time, went through the confirmation process the same time through a presidential search, and everything that went along with it over the nearly a year and a half later, here we are. And we hate to lose you on the board, but are extremely excited for you being appointed and named to serve on the First Judicial Circuit Court of Florida, which covers, I'm gonna make sure I have the counties right, Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties. So we really appreciate your time on the board. We know you're not far. And look forward to hopefully your investiture sometime soon. But we'll take a picture in a second and give you this Distinguished Service Award. But if you would like to say a few words, you can certainly stand up at the podium for a few words, and then we'll come take a photo.
Well, thank you, Chair Matthews and President Diaz and the board. It was an honor and a privilege to serve with all of you for this amazing university. And I cherish the time here, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens in the future. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to have served here. So.
Great. Thank you. We're going to take a quick picture for those of you on the phone.
I hope not to see any of you. Don't I know? Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, and I need to move. All right. I jumped the gun. We're going to move the resolution. So may I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026.4 in recognition of distinguished service to the University of West Florida for Paul Bailey?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. And I got my second. Did you catch that, Christy? Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries. We will move on to tenure with Provost Kuhl.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. For this action item, we are requesting the board's approval for tenure for 4 faculty members who have successfully fulfilled all required tenure criteria. These candidates are listed in your packet. Each candidate has undergone a rigorous review process and has received positive recommendations for tenure. All 4 faculty members have met or exceeded the tenure standards established by both the university and their respective departments. Based on these qualifications and recommendations, the president has recommended tenure for these candidates, and we therefore ask the board to approve the award of tenure for these 4 faculty members.
Sorry. Did you finish?
I did.
I'm sorry about that. I was sidebarring. This is for the tenure piece. May I have a motion to approve tenure for nominees?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
You got the second. Okay, great. Thank you. Any discussion? None? All right, great. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. The motion carries. Thank you, Provost School. And I'd like to call on Jeffrey DeJurlick. There you go. I see Jeffrey. Thank you for being here. He's our Senior Associate Vice President for Finance and University Controller. And he will cover the next two items, so I'll just let you roll into 5 and 6.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. Good morning, trustees and university administration. In front of you today, you have a recommended action to approve the university's direct support organization's annual budgets and estimated use of university or institutional resources for the FY26-27 year. A little bit of context of background: Florida Regulation, BOG Regulation 911, University Direct Support Organizations, and in Section 4 it states that the operating budgets to support those organizations shall be prepared annually and approved by the university's boards of trustees. As you heard earlier about those DSO updates, all of them have approved their current budgets and they're now forwarded into the format for the university for approval. Additionally, during a 2020 institutional operational audit by the Auditor General, they suggested that we also annually review any resources utilized by such DSOs, such as shared employees, shared space, and other items for approval by this board as well. That also is a part of the packet for approval for your information with details. If we could please go to the first slide. Thank you. So this is similar format than what you see for the institutional board of trustees budget. Right now you have the University of West Florida, the UWF Historic Trust, and UWF BEI's board's budgets for their revenues and expenses for FY26-27 year. If you could, next page please. We've highlighted in green the changes from year over year and the major changes that we'd like to talk about and recognize. In speaking for the University of West Florida Foundation, excuse me, I had the wrong one, I apologize. In speaking for the University of West Florida Foundation, in their revenue section, their rent revenue for housing has increased approximately $500,000 related to rental rate increases, as well as programming for bedding for additional students. Other revenue, investment-related revenue, are projected to increase by $9.2 million. You heard about some of those recent investment changes at the University of West Florida Foundation. Expenses at the institution, at the foundation, are expected to increase by $1.9 million as we move forward to construction in the stadium for the institution. So we would also see that reflected in the institutional budget coming up soon. For the University of West Florida Historic Trust, the city, county, and state grants have decreased about $58,000, predominantly due to a reduction in state funding. However, Visit Pensacola and the Pensacola Museum of Art received a FUFU grant programming, making up some portion of that difference. Expenses in the Historic Trust are modest increases. Most of them are salary and benefits related to benefit changes increases. And operating expenses remain generally consistent with year-over-year items. The University of West Florida Business Enterprises, Inc. sales of goods and service revenues are projected to increase primarily due to the Go Learn app activity. And I want to highlight this. This is an item that our faculty have created where it helps students test in areas. And it's an application right now that the Applied Behavior Analysis Group does on an annual basis, and it's generating more and more income each year. They're also working with other faculty members to develop other testing services within that app for other programs of emphasis at the institution. That represents the largest growth related to there. Anticipated bookstore sales growth associated with enrollment increases are continued to see increases. As you might recall, as part of textbook affordability, we are doing e-resources for as many students as we can to reduce the overall book cost coverage. Miscellaneous receipts revenue changes are primarily associated with deferred revenue amortization related to the dining services, capitalization investment. That's really the Argo Village items and other capital investments and improvements on campus. Rental revenue are projected to be decreased moderately. Right now we have a surrounding tenant that is up for renewal but may or may not renew depending on some circumstances. More to come at the next BEI meeting. Donation expenses are expected to increase. Those of you who haven't gone to the cafeteria and some of the dining services location, not to preempt anything from Dan's presentation in the future, but you'll see some major changes from there. And our Aramark Dining Services is investing about $250,000 to make those happen for our students for the upcoming year. Those are the major changes related to the operations of the funding sources. Next page, please. Next page, please. Now, what we're looking at in front of you is for each direct support organizations, those shared employee resources with estimated percentages of time and amount with benefits. So those direct related to the University of West Florida Foundation has approximately 20 university-supported positions with advancement-related functions. It's approximately $1.46 million, reflecting an increase associated with merit and benefit cost adjustments. And the space they utilize is approximately 1,900 square feet at our institutional rate of 13-something or $27,000 annually use of space. We do not predominantly give you an estimate on payroll and other things because that is a fluctuating percentage. These are the major resources that those DSOs directly use. Next page, please. I do want to highlight the Historic Trust is vastly different than our other TU DSOs. The Historic Trust, I believe in 2000, was moved to the institution's base appropriation budgets and receives a portion of E&G appropriations for its operations, unlike any other of our DSOs, which is housed in the institutional's budget. So those positions that you see associated in that budget of approximately 19 people and OPS people of $1.6 million, a majority of that is also funded in E&G when the legislator moved that appropriation into UWF's base. The Historic Trust, unlike the other DSOs I mentioned, transferred that in 2001, and the total approximate estimated annual space usage is roughly $133,000. Next up is BEI. BEI is estimated to use personnel support across multiple administrative areas of the institution. The estimated value of personal services is roughly $394,000, offset by $166,000 reimbursed by BEI to the university, resulting in a support value of $227,000 in salaries. As you may recall, BEI is our newest one, and as they continue to grow revenue and resources, we continue to pick up operational expenses for them in order for them to be self-sufficient and self-supporting moving forward. Again, they have use of 1,300 roughly square feet at approximately $6,200 annually in rental expense estimated. So with that, we ask for a motion to approve the direct support organization's annual budgets and estimated university resources utilized for the FY26-27 year.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the direct support operations annual budgets and estimated university resources utilized for FY26-27? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The motion carries. Jeffrey, number 6.
Okay, BOT action item number 6 is the estimated FY26-27 consolidated operating budget for the University of West Florida. This authorization also, we request as approval with the authorization of the president to make changes throughout the year related to the budget with updates presented quarterly to the Board of Trustees. Some background, the FY26-27 operating budget is due to the Board of Governors this month on the 24th for all of the institutions, which then will be combined and approved at the Board of Governors meeting shortly thereafter. This is a requirement by Florida Board of Governors Regulation 9.007, state universities operating budgets. It includes the following groups. Of course, our education in general, which is comprised of state appropriations, lottery, and the student fee trust in the education in general. Carry forward, auxiliary enterprises, contracting grants, athletics, student activities, financial aid, concessions, and technology. As a member of the state university system, UWF operates in accordance with the policies established under that legislation, and as forth, we are presenting to you the changes for the 26-27 operating budget compared to the current modified for 25-26. So if we could to the first slide, please. So what you see in front of you here is those individualized fund budgets that we discussed earlier. You have the education in general. The major sections of revenue for that, of course, is state appropriations, lottery, and student fee trust. And you see that we have some of those columns in white and some of them slightly grayed out. The white columns represent where the administration and this board have the most amount of impact by policies, procedures, and approval. As you approve carry forward in the operating budgets, as you approve the budgets right now for auxiliary and athletics. Contract and grant budgets are actually usually established by the granting authority with approval via our policy. So typically those grants and budgets are set by the external agencies. The financial aid budget is actually a pass-through of predominantly Pell funds as well as student loan funds from the institution, and that's predetermined by our financial aid packaging with the state of Florida through the Department of Education and through the U.S. Department of Education. Concessions is a very small budget, as you can see, roughly $200,000 of operating activity. It may be small, but it does a mighty of activities across our campus, supporting both students, faculty, and staff. Technology is highly regulated, that most of those dollars have to be invested into faculty technology investments or direct student technology investments. So if you go to the library, those laptops that can be checked out for those students, these smart tech classrooms for these students, a large leverage on some of the platforms that we use like Canvas and other items can help support it through our technology budget. Next page, please. What we're showing to you now is, first up is the education budget, the education in general budget, as it's estimated for 27 compared to our most recent approved consolidated modified budget for E&G. You can see a modest change of approximately $1 million increase in the current modified budget. State appropriations are estimated at recurring levels pending final legislative approval and or vetoes. So we rolled forward last year's budgets, removed non-recurring items, and updated for estimated PBF. Additionally, those items that Alex mentioned earlier for the program wallet at $249, another $250, they're not reflected in here, but they will be when you go in and reapprove it at the upcoming meeting in September. The student fee trust revenue is projected to increase by $3.9 million due to continued enrollment growth, particularly during the summer term. That is a substantial increase for UWF. As you can see, the budget roughly used to be around 40 to 45 million. That's 4 million or 10% growth over all those years. That is fairly substantial for institution and will be reinvested in operating costs, but more importantly, in faculty recruitment and retention. Salaries and benefits are projected to increase by $8.6 million. That is related to benefit increases, merit raises that the president announced earlier this year, as well as collective bargaining agreements with unions. The carry forward budget you see in front of you comparatively wise is an estimate. Again, you get the carry forward budget in September for detailed approval, then it goes to the Board of Governors. So this is an estimate that, yes, you do see changes on there, but those changes will drastically change by the time you have the individualized project list. So it's just an estimate to start the year for spending. Next page, please. Auxiliary funding. Auxiliary beginning balances are projected to increase by $3.5 million due to budget realignment and reductions with actual operating activities for FY26. So they had some savings in different areas, and of course, they have flexibility in some academic areas to spend heavily in E&G versus auxiliary, and accordingly, they have spent added balances to their beginning balance. Although the fee revenue is projecting a decline, it is important to point out that the FY26 estimated budget was more robust and had a stronger increase in certain areas of third-party contracts that are not necessarily materializing this year, but on a historical four-year average, we are still up. So we right-sized the budget for FY27. That is why you're seeing a decrease. It does not mean there's a decrease in operations. There's actually an increase in operations, to clarify. It's just a change in the estimated budget for the upcoming year. The increase of 3.9 in miscellaneous receipts is related to dollars towards the foundation towards athletics and the stadium as we continue to move forward. Operating expenses are projected to decrease about $3.5 million on historical spending calendars and auxiliary. Athletics, with enrollment increases, you would expect an athletic fee revenue increase, but you also have the implementation of the new $2 D1 fee change in that budget. So accordingly, you'll see an increase related to enrollment and that fee. The operating expenses are expected to increase as the university prepares to transition to D1 during this year. You'll see a large increase, and you'll see some specialized one-time purchases during this year as we move towards transition to D1. This athletic plan has been reviewed through the Intercollegiate Athletic Advisory Committee for reasonableness and compliance with the NCAA compliance. So while this budget is being presented to you, an advisory council from financial aid, financial affairs, as well as academic affairs and the student affairs area all review that for reasonableness for presenting to the president and the advisory council. The student activity beginning balances are projected to decrease as the university continues an effort to utilize existing cash balances. OPS budgets have adjusted downward to better align with projected operating activities. Contracting grants, again, are permanently externally funded, and so we don't normally give you a presentation of the differences for the last several of them. So we highlighted the major changes on the ones that the board has major impacts on. So we asked for a motion to approve the FY 26-27 consolidated operating budget with the understanding that the president is designated to make subsequent changes to it and present it at the next board meetings.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeffrey. May I have a motion to approve the estimated FY 2026-27 consolidated operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2027, including both appropriated and non-appropriated funds?
I would so move.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any discussion from the group? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
As always, appreciate it. Okay, we'll call on General Counsel now, David Fugit, to cover the revision to our Board of Trustees policy for the presidential evaluation.
Thank you, Chair Matthews, and good morning, trustees. You have in front of you a revised presidential evaluation policy. As you know, it is the board's non-delegable responsibility to evaluate the president every year. This policy had not been looked at for approximately 9 years, so we thought it was time for a refresh. I'd like to specifically thank Trustee Gilly for helping me shepherd this through, and also Trustee Riddell, who provided us some very helpful comments that hopefully we've incorporated into this draft. What this revised policy does, it makes sure that we stay in compliance with Florida statutes, stay in compliance with Board of Governors regulations that have changed through the years, and also keeps us aligned with the president's contract and make sure that you can timely complete the evaluation this year as well. So that's what this policy does, and that concludes my kind of introduction to it. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to approve revisions to BOT 14 presidential evaluation policy as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, I think the.
Do we need, I'm sorry.
It's just, I just wanted
Trustee
to discuss
Gilly?
one thing. Yes.
Sure.
So as this is June 18th,
Mhm.
we might not make the July 1 the evaluation tool piece, and I didn't know if the general counsel wanted to mention that or not. So
Okay.
we may need a reprieve just to get us through July to make sure that we're back on track
Okay.
by September 1. So,
Yeah, so now that the policy has been approved, I believe.
well, she
No,
didn't
we
ask for a
haven't
vote,
voted
we're
on
just
it yet.
discussing.
Yeah, so what the request is we're on a timeline right now, and kind of a tight timeline. The president has already provided his self-evaluation. He's provided the board with his goals, so the next step really is for the committee to provide an evaluation instrument for the board to review and use to evaluate the president. What I believe the committee chair, Gilly, is asking for is a bit of a waiver of the one requirement that by July 1st of each year, of this year, the evaluation instrument needs to be completed. Since we're already halfway through June, she will be requesting, after the motion is voted on, for a waiver from the board chair for just this year, so they can make sure they get up to speed and don't accidentally non-comply with that portion of this policy.
Correct.
Okay. So what I'm about to do, though, is ask for a motion to approve the policy as it is, and then afterwards, I have the authority to just give the reprieve
Correct.
just for this 1 year.
Correct. Just vote on the motion to approve this policy. Once this policy is
Right.
approved, you can take a request from Trustee Gilly to
Okay.
waive that portion of it for just this year.
All right, I'm clear. All right, may I have a motion to approve BOT 14 presidential evaluation policy as presented?
We already did that.
You got a vote, you got a
Yep.
motion already.
Oh,
We did
right,
all
that's
that.
right, and I got my second from Schatz, didn't
Yeah, we
I?
got a second.
Okay, any discussion other than what?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, perfect, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great, the motion carries, and then now I will ask trustee Gilly to maybe articulate that one more time, and I'll give that verbal approval.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I was
that's okay.
just discussing to make sure that
Sure.
everybody knew we weren't probably going to make
Sure.
the July 1. I think that the general counsel has
Covered it.
summarized what I'm trying to accomplish.
Sure, and understandable. I absolutely think that's perfect for this year, just to ensure that they have enough time. And I thank everybody who is actually on that committee. It's a lot of work, so appreciate it. And we're getting things not cleaned up, but I think just kind of in a better posture for the university and how we review the president. Okay, now I will, actually, I'm calling on VP of Finance and Administration, CFO Dan Lucas, for our last action item. However, I don't know, I know President Diaz has some comments he might want to make. I don't know if you would like to do that prior to Dan
Yeah.
presenting? Okay, so Dan, if you'll hang just a second, we'll have President Diaz make some comments.
Yeah, I just want to clarify what is being asked to the board on this item. I'll go back to, this board approved the application to the Department of Education to become a statewide authorizer. The First University, there are several colleges that have taken avail of that statute. We were approved, and in this case, you are receiving a recommendation on an application that has been submitted. The application was reviewed by the Florida Charter School Innovation Center at Miami-Dade College, which is the same institute that does the reviews for the State Charter School Commission and for all applications at Miami-Dade, and an agreement we have with them. So what's being brought forward here is a recommendation to approve a charter school application. However, I want to provide clarity, as this board action would allow this board to be an authorizer of the school, but I want it to be clear that we are not operating a school. And so while this school would be designated to function on our campus through a shared use agreement that was already in place for possibly a non-tuition private school or charter, depending on the situation, this does not in any way put UWF in the business of operating a K-12 school. The K-12 school that comes before you would be operated by Somerset, Inc., and they are applying to the board through the statute to be approved as a charter school in Escambia County under the authorization of this board. So your actions would authorize or approve the application for them to go ahead and become a charter school, which in this case would happen to be on our campus. It is a K-3. So just wanted to make sure we're clear on procedures. The responsibilities of the university as an authorizer are oversight and making sure of compliance, working together with the Department of Education and the Charter School Innovation Center at Miami-Dade College. They are not the actual operations of the school. So I wanted to make sure that that is clear before Dan presents, and then I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dan, and I know he also has a presentation from the applicant.
Thank you, President Diaz. Thank you, Madam Matthews. There's a few updates I wanted to give as far as the facilities for the charter school here on campus. And then President Diaz also reminded you that the action is really to approve the application that we've received, the review packet from the Charter Institute of Florida. The charter school originally was going to be located in the School of Education, and we found as we dug into the codes that our facilities are not K through 12 coded. So as a result, we've pivoted, and we will utilize some modular units that we will install on the East Campus. The location we've chosen has easy access to people coming in and off campus. And in the agreement, we have a licensing and use agreement with Somerset that will operate the school. And in that agreement, they will have all the responsibility for operations, any facilities work they do to the campus, and anything that runs off of that site. So I think we have authorized them to run, and with that, they were gracious enough to visit us, and we have two representatives from Somerset here today, Mr. Alex Cordovas and Dr. Karina Iber, who is actually a UWF alum. They're both here, and they have a brief few words they'd like to share with you. And then if there's any other questions about operations and their relationship with UWF, I think they'll be able to answer those here.
Great, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, trustees, president, members of the board, and distinguished guests. My name is Dr. Karina Iber, and it is an honor to be here with you today. I'm a proud graduate of the University of West Florida, the Torrals Program in Education, having earned my doctorate this past December 2025. For the past 26 years, I've dedicated my career to serving students, families, and communities through Somerset Academy Schools, where I currently serve as the vice principal at Somerset Academy in Pembroke Pines. Somerset Academy is Florida's largest serving charter school network, founded in 1997, and one of the nation's leading charter networks. Today, it serves more than 40,000 students across 75 schools nationwide, including 60 in Florida. The network has also been recognized by Cognia as a system of distinction and includes 8 national blue ribbons. Joining me today is Mr. Alexander Cordovez, our Academicas Director of Facilities and Operations. We're also joined by fellow Somerset leadership, including President Dr. Bernardo Montero, and our Vice President, Ms. Suzette Ruiz, as well as additional Somerset and Academic representatives participating via Zoom. In addition to my role in the school leadership, I serve on the Charter Management Organization Grants team, which has secured $58 million in federal funding to expand high-performing schools and increase education opportunities across the nation. Education has always been both my profession and my passion, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to contribute to discussions that advocate and advance our excellence in innovation and student success. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexander Cordovez. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Iber. Just to piggyback quickly off what she said, I'm a representative of Academica. We are the largest charter school educational service provider in the country, and we're here in collaboration with Somerset to answer any questions that you guys may have. So feel free to, ask us any questions. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Dan?
So with
Anything
that,
else?
is there any questions?
I have,
No, we do. Trustee Riddell.
yes. We noticed, I noticed on page 12, it talked about the financial plan being based on the initial enrollment projection of 180 students. Considering we are just mere weeks from projected start date, what is the plan for recruiting the 180 students?
So there isn't a immediate plan to have that many students. I think that is a longer-term plan for Somerset. And in our agreement, they will pay us a fee per student as they bring them to campus. In the fall, we're looking for 50 to 60 students. And we believe the demand that we had done a survey on a year ago will be filled with faculty, student, and staff, just with the feedback we got from the survey.
Okay, so will there be any financial impact on UWF without having those targets met?
No.
No, not at all.
I have one additional question about the local region. It was noted in the application that there's no local representative on the board. How will that be resolved?
I'll defer to Somerset on that, because they know their organization better.
We currently have already hired our principal for the school that is being relocated to the West Florida area. And we also have already a set board that we are all incorporated and vested for the school, for the growth of the school.
Understood. Recently, there's been some news stories about the local public school system and declining enrollment and their need to have an increased recruitment strategy. How do we address the impact on the local region?
Yeah, absolutely. So like all of the networks under the Academica brand, and specifically in this case with Somerset, we are not here to compete in any way. We are a network that is going to offer a choice to parents. And so in the same way that parents are choosing to leave the traditional public school systems for other choices, then they also have the choice to enroll here. So this is going to be a lottery-based system. The parents are not obligated to go to the school, but rather will choose to go to the school if they see fit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other trustee? Anyone on the line? Trustee Gilling.
Yeah, I did,
please.
and I did kind of want to address that particular issue. I believe we have a waiting list at our child care facility, probably about 150 to 175, right? So we already have, I think, as Dan has said, a population of folks that you can already talk to and see about if they want to come in. Since it is K-3, you're not starting 5th through 12th or something like that. So in that instance, yes, there may be an impact because they're not choosing to go to public, but the families are getting to make that choice, and we may already have the ready population for that. So I think that's the benefit of it starting at K through 3. The impact, it'll be hard to determine if they would have chosen a different school choice or if they're choosing traditional, it'll be hard to tell, but they may already be looking for those options and opportunities. And I think with 170 students on a child care waiting list, it definitely demonstrates there is a need, as we've said before, just in this area by our faculty, our students, and our staff for those other opportunities. Thank you.
That's all true, and I do want to point out that we have worked with the School of Education on an MIU where they will actually utilize the school with their classroom activity here on campus. And there's definitely a need for folks that work here, go to school here, that have children. They've expressed the need to me just in passing. So.
Yeah, being co-located with your children in this, it would be wonderful,
Convenient.
I think.
Yeah, really nice. All right, anyone else? Just make sure we cover our bases here.
I think charter schools overall have been very much of an asset in American education. And I think the whole goal is not to have a particular monopoly on providing it, but to have education provided with some competition involved so that we can get a better product in terms of how we're performing. The American students nationally in public schools are not doing well, not compared to other countries. And you look at other countries such as the Netherlands, for example, in which charter schools have been huge over there. Giving parents the choice of where to send their children to school, they kick our tails in every area of performance that we could have. And so I think that competition is a good thing for our public schools. I'm a product of the public schools. My parents could not have afforded to send me to private schools. I went to public schools for high school, for undergraduate school, for law school. And so I'm a big believer in providing education that's available to all kids, regardless of the wealth of their parents. And so that to a large degree, is the public schools. But it doesn't mean that charter schools can't come in and also provide a very valuable service of parent choice on where to send the schools. The University of West Florida is like a city in itself in terms of size. It's the largest campus I've ever been on. It takes a long time to drive from one end of it to the other. If I were a professor instructor at UWF, and I had a facility to put my children that was a 5-minute drive away, I would very much consider that to be a positive of my employment status. And I think it would be a good recruiting tool, and I think it's a good service to the UWF staff to have a charter school, so nearby. So I'm very much supportive of the charter school.
Thank you, Trustee Fleming. President Diaz?
I wanted to point out that Pensacola State has availed themselves of that statute, and they have a successful charter school. I don't know if Trustee Sprague wants to, I know he's very familiar with the school at PSC and the success they've had there. I know he wanted to chime in on that story.
Pensacola State's operated a charter school for approximately 3 years. They got a cap of 300 students, and today I think they're about 214 or 215. They will cap out next year. Charter schools have a place in the future of education for sure, and I can support the university being an advocate in this role.
I could point out that that charter school at Pensacola State College has recently produced 2 admittees to Harvard and to another Ivy League school have a very, very high placement rate in colleges, have a high placement rate in scholarships to other colleges. So it's been very, very successful. I think we could do the same at UWF.
Well, thank you, Dr. Arbor, and all of your colleagues that are on the phone in here today for presenting. We'll go ahead if that was just some basic comments that we were having amongst the group here, but I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the charter school application for Somerset Academy as presented.
I'll move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, got it. Thank you. Any discussion, general discussion of the board here?
I did just.
Trustee Gilly.
Yes, Dan, I just wanted to make sure that you did have an open process, and did you have any other interest in this particular opportunity here?
No, I have not had any other interest in this opportunity here.
Okay.
And they were part of a P3 bid
Okay.
for this operation.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that the process is clearly discussed and that we know that it was clearly followed.
Absolutely. All right. Any
Just
other
a-
discussion?
Just a comment, is there a priority target market for the students?
The students on campus is our primary market for this school.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, we'll move on to, we're nearing the end here, our informational items, and Dr. Dallas Snyder, Vice Provost, will present the first informational item, and it's an accreditation update.
Thank you, Chair Matthews, and good morning, trustees. I understand Dr. Bryan and I are standing between everyone and lunch, so we'll be brief. Section 1008.47 of the Florida statutes requires all state universities to provide quarterly reports to the Board of Governors on our progress in changing institutional accreditors. Our next quarterly report is due on July 3rd. Today, I'll be sharing with you what we will be reporting to the Board of Governors. We are in the middle of step 2 of 3 steps of the accelerated process for initial accreditation with the Higher Learning Commission, or HLC for short. Step 1 was the initial application with HLC. Step 2 is the preliminary peer review. The UWF Institutional Effectiveness team, led by Dr. Angela Bryan, who is next on the agenda, started collecting evidence and writing the narratives for Step 2 with assistance from multiple stakeholders. Many of these stakeholders are sitting around the table or in the audience today, and we appreciate your assistance in writing the narratives and/or providing data. Because of your assistance, we are on track to submit our Step 2 preliminary peer review materials later in fall 2026. We will continue to reach out to you for final reviews as our submission deadline approaches. Upon approval of the Step 2 preliminary peer review, we anticipate submitting Step 3 in spring 2027, which will be the materials for the comprehensive evaluation for initial accreditation, with a site visit likely scheduled for next summer. Initial accreditation from HLC should be completed in late 2027 or early 2028. I would like to add that we are maintaining compliance with our current institutional accreditor, the SAC-COC, and also SAC-COC announced that they will be changing its name to the Commission on Colleges and Universities on September 1st of this year. That concludes my report, and we will take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Snyder. Any questions from the group? All right, great. So I'll welcome Dr. Bryan. Thank you so much for being here today to talk about our next informational item, which is the Board of Trustees Self-Evaluation Effectiveness Survey. This is something that we do every other year. So I certainly have not been through that yet since we were in the skip year last year. So Dr. Bryan, thank you for illuminating on this for us and kind of what our steps will be in the process.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Matthews. Board self-evaluation is a very important quality marker for higher ed institutions, as it demonstrates a commitment to continuous improvement and self-reflection at the very highest level of institutional leadership. Since 2019, boards of trustees for SUS institutions and the Board of Governors have engaged in regular self-evaluation of effectiveness. The self-evaluation instrument that you will use was developed in 2019 and addresses the 9 areas of responsibility delegated to this board by the Board of Governors through Regulation 1.001. The last survey was conducted in 2024 and making this year the next year to administer the survey. You will receive an email after this meeting with the link to complete the survey. My name, Angela Bryan, will show as the sender with an email address of noreply@qemailserver.com, which is the address for the Qualtrics survey that we use. The survey will remain open for response through July 1st. After the survey closes, those results will be compiled and presented to you for your review and discussion at your meeting on August the 13th. Are there any questions at this time?
Any questions from anyone? No. And if any folks have questions throughout that process, they can contact
Absolutely.
you.
Contact me
directly.
or Christy Johnson. We're
Okay.
working very closely on this.
So when it's set up, I know you probably read this and they briefed everybody, but just, I guess, to put this back out there, it's set up in the same format that it has been. And a lot of us obviously are new to the board, so I think we'll have some options. If you do not have, I think, enough information to answer certain questions, there'll be the ability to type in some narrative from that perspective. And then we'll take a look at it again for the next review, to similar to what we're doing with the presidential evaluation and other things, is making sure we've got this set up to make it a truly effective evaluation for this set of board for going into the future. But this year, it seemed that we needed to keep it at the status quo for the most part, right?
We did. We left all the questions the same, so they're exactly what you saw in the packet. We did add that one option for each one of the closed-ended questions where you can say not enough experience to evaluate.
Yeah, great, thank you. All right, any questions or discussion on any of that for the board? Okay, all right, well, thank you. We'll get that done quickly, so that'll be great. We'll have that report back out in August. That's what you said, right? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bryan. Appreciate that. All right, so this, we're at the conclusion here, the good of the order. I'll add a few things, and then folks can chime in if they'd like. Our next board meeting is August 13th, and we will have it downtown at the Museum of Commerce, which I think everyone's been to, so that'll be a neat, different venue to be in. Cozier, but really kind of a neat venue at the same time. The Argo Rally will be on the 13th in the evening at Seville Quarter. For those of you who haven't been, please try to come to it. It really is cool. It was great last year. I had a good time. So it'll be even a really bigger event this year because we're going D1. So that'll kick off all of kind of our sports and athletics. And then the first football game, you guys have probably seen the schedule roll out, but it is August 27th. So that's all that I had for the group today. But is there anything from anybody on the board before we adjourn? Not seeing anything. This is great. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone traveling here and everyone on the phone and in the room. Enjoy the rest of the week and your summer, and we will, I'm sure we'll engage probably in some other meetings in between perhaps. If not, we'll see you on August 13th. Thank you. The meeting's adjourned at 11:48 Central.